Have you ever felt just, well, completely swamped, like you're drowning in a sea of information?
Definitely. Endless articles, regulations, reports.
Yes. All demanding attention, and you just wish, there was a clear map, something to show you what really matters.
A rate map would be nice, yeah.
Well, you are absolutely in luck today. We're doing a deep dive right into that kind of roadmap for something really fundamental.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What are we talking about?
Organizational integrity, sustained success. We're diving into ISO 37301 compliance management.
ISO 37301. Good one.
Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. ISO standard. Sounds a bit dry, maybe.
It can have that reputation for sure.
But trust me, this is far from some dusty document. Think of it more like a powerful blueprint.
A blueprint, I like that.
Yeah, it's a framework, right? Really well designed to help any organization, whatever type, size, industry, navigate this complex world of rules, ethics, responsibilities. It gets tricky out there.
Increasingly so.
So our mission today is simple. Give you a shortcut, basically, a way to get genuinely well-informed on how to build robust compliance, not just as a department, but like deep in the organization's DNA.
And being well-informed there is just so critical, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
compliance today, it's changed so much.
How so?
Well, it's way beyond just, avoiding fines or legal trouble, though obviously that's still a big motivator.
Sure. Yeah.
But a really effective compliance management system, a CMS, it's fundamentally about building trust, real trust, with everyone, customers, partners, employees, the community.
Stakeholders across the board.
Exactly. It's about proactively boosting your reputation, fostering a genuinely ethical culture inside, attracting the best people.
And keeping them.
Right. And ultimately, ensuring you're built to last, ensuring long-term sustainability. It can even unlock growth.
That's a great point.
And this deep dive will show exactly how ISO 37301 gives you the requirements and guidance for establishing, developing, implementing, evaluating, maintaining, and improving an effective compliance management system. It covers the whole life cycle.
So our goal for you listening is clear. By the end of this, you'll have a solid grasp of ISO 37301's core parts, how they all fit together, and some real practical insights into what it takes to actually implement this stuff.
Making it real.
Yeah, we're going to break it down clause by clause. We'll pull in specific examples from the documentation list, the standard mentions, the required stuff, the recommended stuff.
So you get the full picture, not just the theory.
Exactly. Okay, ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
All right, let's unpack this. Okay, so every great structure needs a solid foundation, right? Whether it's a building or, well, a resilient organization.
Absolutely fundamental. Can't build on shaky ground.
And for a robust compliance management system, that foundation starts with understanding a few key things. What exactly are we talking about? Where does this framework apply? And what's the environment it needs to operate in?
Setting the scene, basically.
Yeah, precisely. And that's where the first few clauses of ISO 37301 come in. Clauses 1 through 4, they lay that groundwork.
Right, starting with clause 1.
Kicking things off with clause 1 scope, the universal applicability. So this first clause, it really just lays out the broad purpose,
What it's for.
Exactly. Providing requirements and guidance for an effective CMS, establishing it, developing it, implementing, evaluating, maintaining, improving, the whole cycle we mentioned.
Covers all the bases.
But here's the really remarkable thing, and we really need to stress this. It's universal applicability. It says right there it applies to all organizations, regardless of type, size, or nature.
That's huge. It's not just for the Fortune 500s.
Not at all. This isn't some exclusive club for giant corporations with huge legal teams. This standard, it kind of democratizes best practices and compliance.
Makes it accessible.
Think about it. You could have a small tech startup, let's call them, Apex Solutions. They're growing, maybe going global, suddenly grappling with GDPR, CCPA. Complex stuff.
Data privacy. Yeah, big one.
Or maybe a medium-sized nonprofit, right?
Yeah.
They need impeccable donor trust, navigate tricky financial rules.
Transparency is key there.
Or even a big manufacturer dealing with international trade laws, environmental standards, a whole maze.
Different worlds, Similar needs for structure.
Exactly. All these different entities, they can all use and really benefit from this structured, principle-based approach. It makes these advanced compliance ideas accessible, actionable. You can build entirety from the ground up, no matter your scale.
And what's really fascinating here, and maybe a bit overlooked sometimes, is just how adaptable it is.
Adaptable? How so?
Well, it's not like a super rigid checklist, do these 50 things exactly like this. It's much more of a flexible, principle-based framework.
Okay, so less prescriptive.
Right. Which means any organization, big or small, can tailor it. They can fit it to their unique risks, their specific operations, their strategic goals.
So Apex Solutions, our startup, might focus more on software security controls, keeping up with tech regulations?
Exactly. While the nonprofit might put more emphasis on, say, ethical fundraising and financial transparency.
Makes sense.
It means you're not trying to jam a square peg into a round hole. You adapt the standards, proven ideas to fit your organization's shape, its vulnerabilities, its goals.
So it's relevant, efficient, effective for you.
Precisely. It's about fit, not just ticking boxes.
Okay, that adaptability is key. And building on that need for clarity, we get to clauses 2 and 3, normative references and terms and definitions, speaking the same language.
Right. Clause 2 is super quick.
Yeah, clause 2, basically, for ISO 37301, there aren't any other standards you must use alongside it. It stands on its own.
Pretty straightforward.
But clause 3, terms and definitions. Seems basic, but wow, is it important.
Absolutely critical. It's the common glossary.
It nails down the precise meaning of key terms. Things like compliance itself, compliance obligation, compliance risk.
Compliance culture, non-compliance, even policy, foundational concepts.
So why obsess over definitions? Why does this matter so much?
Because in compliance, ambiguity is dangerous. Precision is everything.
Okay, explain that.
Imagine the chaos, right? If different departments or even different people at Apex Solutions had slightly different ideas about what compliance actually means or what counts as non-compliance.
Yeah, wires would get crossed constantly. Misunderstanding.
Exactly. So by clarifying these terms right at the start, the standard acts like a universal translator.
Rosetta Stone for compliance.
Pretty much. It stops misinterpretations, ensures everyone's on the same page, understands things the same way, internally and externally to regulators, partners.
Everyone speaks the same compliance language.
Right. Let's take an example. The difference between a compliance obligation and a compliance risk
Yeah.
seems subtle, but it's crucial.
Okay, what's the difference?
An obligation is a requirement, a rule you have to follow, like a data retention law or a specific clause in a client contract.
Got it, a must-do.
A risk, on the other hand, is the potential that you might fail to meet that obligation.
Ah, okay. The chance of messing up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the risk that Apex Solutions might mishandle customer data, breaching their privacy obligations. Understanding that distinction shifts your focus.
How so?
You move from just knowing the rules to actively thinking about where and how you might actually fail to meet them.
So you can be proactive, not just reactive.
Precisely. You can put controls in place before something goes wrong, instead of just cleaning up messes.
That clarity is definitely the bedrock then.
It really is. It's like agreeing on the rules of the game before you start playing. Without that shared vocabulary, even with the best intentions, things can go wrong. Leads to missteps, inefficiencies.
Prevents that fractured effort where everyone's pulling in slightly different directions.
Exactly. It allows a standardized way to identify, assess, and deal with compliance issues right across the organization.
Okay, this is where, for me, it gets really interesting. We move into Clause 4 context of the organization, knowing your environment.
Foundational stuff. You need to know where you stand.
Totally. Before you can even think about building a solid CMS, you absolutely have to understand the ground you're building on. Clause 4 is all about that deep organizational self-assessment and really understanding the world around you.
Looking inwards and outward.
Exactly. First up, 4.1. Understanding the organization and its context. This means figuring out all the internal issues, the external factors, the conditions, anything that could affect your CMS.
Help it or hinder it.
Right. And practically speaking, the source material says this often turns into a context analysis report, internal and external, like a big self-assessment document.
Strategic snapshot.
Think of it for Apex Solutions, internally. What are our strengths in compliance? Where are we weak? What are our core values? What's the actual culture like? What are our current processes? Do they help or hurt compliance?
An honest look in the mirror.
And then externally, you broaden the view. PESTLE analysis is a common tool here, right? Political factors, economic conditions, social trends, technological changes.
Legal, environmental. the whole landscape.
What's the regulatory environment like for Apex? Are new laws coming down the pipe that affect software or data? What are competitors doing?
What are the big picture trends?
This whole exercise gives you that 360-degree view. Inside the walls and way beyond. It's like knowing the terrain before you plan your campaign.
Absolutely. And this context analysis, it's not just a tick box exercise to get done. It's about really grasping the strategic environment.
It has real implications.
Huge ones. You just can't manage compliance effectively if you don't deeply understand the forces acting on you. New tech like AI creating new rules, geopolitical shifts affecting trade.
Or internal stuff like a legacy IT system causing headaches.
Right. Or internal dynamics creating unforeseen risks. This analysis helps you pinpoint where to focus your compliance efforts, where your blind spots might be.
And how external stuff might create totally new risks. Or maybe even opportunities.
Exactly. Which raises a really important question, doesn't it? How often do organizations really pause and dedicate serious time and resources to this deep reflective analysis before they jump into building or fixing their compliance systems?
Instead of just reacting to the latest crisis or headline.
Yeah. It often feels like it gets short shrift.
That's a critical point. And building right on that, we have 4.2, understanding the needs and expectations of stakeholders.
Moving beyond just the organization itself.
Right. This involves identifying all your compliance obligations, not just the legal ones, but also what your stakeholders expect.
Broadening the definition.
Totally. It includes laws, regulations, sure, but also what customers demand, what partners require in contracts, even ethical commitments to the community. Our sources mention meeting a list of interested parties and their needs and a solid legal and regulatory register.
Documenting those obligations.
But it's much more than just legal box ticking. It's about proactively recognizing and addressing ethical expectations. Things that might not be law yet, but are crucial for trust and reputation.
Things customers just assume you're doing right.
Exactly. Think about Apex Solutions again. A customer might expect super stringent data privacy, maybe even more than the law currently requires.
Because they trust the brand.
Right. And that expectation, driven by trust, becomes a vital obligation. Just as important for Apex's long-term survival as any legal rule. This holistic view really stretches the definition of compliance.
You've nailed it there. It's recognizing that reputation, trust, they're built on meeting both the letter of the law and the spirit, the ethical expectations.
Ignoring the ethical stuff can hurt just as much as breaking a law.
Absolutely, maybe even more in the long run. Reputational damage is incredibly hard to fix. This shifts compliance from being fear-based, don't get caught, to being value-driven, this is who we are.
Okay, so you understand your context, you understand your obligations from all stakeholders. Then comes 4.3, determining the scope of the CMS.
Defining the boundaries, what's in, what's out.
Exactly. This is where you nail down precisely what your compliance management system will cover. The documentation here includes the scope of the compliance management system document and a compliance obligations register.
Why is this boundary setting so crucial?
Because it prevents scope creep, where the project just keeps getting bigger and bigger, losing focus.
Spreading resources too thin.
Right. Defining the scope ensures your resources, money, people, tech are focused where they're needed most on the biggest risks. Clearly saying what's in the CMS and what's out makes things efficient, manageable, and ensures accountability.
So for Apex Solutions, this could be deciding. Do we roll this out globally all at once? Or start with one high-risk division?
Yeah, or maybe focus first on data privacy and financial reporting, the really critical stuff, before tackling, say, environmental compliance later.
Making strategic, pragmatic choices up front.
It allows you to do that. Ensures the CMS is impactful from the start, not some huge, unwieldy thing that never quite works.
Getting it right-sized.
And finally, within Clause 4, there's 4.4 Compliance Management System. This isn't super detailed. It's more like the overarching commitment.
The meta requirement.
Yeah, it just states the fundamental duty. Establish, implement, maintain, and continually improve a CMS according to the standard. Sets the stage for everything else.
So if you zoom out, Clause 4 isn't just prep work. It's really a foundational commitment by the organization to continuous learning and adaptation.
Learning about itself and its environment.
Exactly. It forces organizations to be introspective. What are we good at? Where are we weak? And outwardly aware what's changing, what are our obligations before they design the system.
Avoids building something in a vacuum.
Right. Too often, companies try to build or buy compliance solutions without this deep understanding, and they end up with systems that don't fit, are too complex, or miss major risks. Clause 4 is the antidote. Start strategically, start informed.
Okay, so we've got that solid foundation laid, like the concrete for Apex Solutions' new HQ. Now we need to talk about the engine, the driving force behind any successful system.
And that's leadership.
Absolutely. ISO 37301 is crystal clear on this. Compliance isn't just some function you stick in a back office and forget about.
Can't just delegate it away and hope for the best.
No way. Effective compliance starts right at the top, and it needs constant championing from leadership. That's the core message of Clause 5 leadership, and it flows right into Clause 6 planning.
Setting the tone and the direction.
Exactly. Let's dive into Clause 5 leadership. Setting the tone from the top. First section, 5.1 Leadership and Commitment. The standard says top management must show leadership and take accountability for the CMS.
Not just sign off on it, but own it.
Right. It's not just approving a budget or giving it to a junior person. Our sources mention a key document here, the Top Management Commitment Statement.
Making that commitment visible.
Visible is the key word. It's about tangible support, allocating resources, active involvement from the very top.
Walking the talk.
When leaders at Apex Solutions are truly committed, when they talk about compliance as a core value, not just a burden, when they put real time and money behind it, when they champion ethical behavior that sends a powerful message.
It cascades down through the whole organization.
Absolutely. From the exec suite to the newest hire, everyone gets the signal. This is serious, this matters, it's not just another corporate initiative.
Prevents that cynicism that can kill compliance efforts.
Yeah.
Makes it a shared goal.
And that visible commitment, it naturally leads right into 5.2 policy.
Defining the what's.
Top management has to establish a formal compliance policy, and crucially, it can't just be a standalone thing. It needs to align with the organization's values, its strategic goals, and that context we figured out in Clause 4.
Needs to be integrated.
And it's a required document, the compliance policy. Think of this as the North Star for your CMS.
The guiding principles.
Yeah, a clear statement of intent, fundamental principles everyone can look to. It translates that high-level leadership commitment into concrete guidelines. This is what we believe. This is how we act on compliance.
Makes it tangible.
Okay, so you've got the commitment, you've got the policy. Next comes 5.3, organizational roles, responsibilities, and authorities.
Who does what?
Exactly. You need to meticulously define and assign roles, responsibilities, and the authority for compliance stuff throughout the organization. This usually gets documented in a roles and responsibilities matrix.
Clarity is key here.
Absolutely vital. It avoids confusion, stops critical tasks from falling through the cracks, and assigns clear accountability.
So for Apex Solutions, who monitors changes in data privacy laws? Who approves a new vendor's compliance?
Who gets notified if there's a potential incident? And what's their role in responding? This clause makes sure the compliance structure is effective, efficient, and unambiguous. No confusion about who owns what.
Structures the function properly.
Now, we get to arguably the trickiest but maybe the most crucial part of Clause 5, 5.4 compliance culture.
The how. The feeling of the place.
Exactly. This is about proactively promoting and embedding a truly ethical, compliance-driven culture. Our sources mention support documents like a compliance culture enhancement plan and a code of conduct or ethics.
Moving beyond just rules.
Way beyond. It's about weaving compliance into the company's DNA, making it instinctive. Where ethical behavior isn't just mandated, it's the natural, expected, desired way to do business.
Not just following rules out of fear.
Right. Imagine at Apex Solutions, employees comply not just because they're scared of getting caught, but because they genuinely believe it's the right thing, and they feel empowered to act that way.
Fostering an environment where people feel safe to speak up.
Yes. Safe to raise concerns, ask tough questions, challenge things that seem off without worrying about backlash. It's about proactive prevention, catching things early, not just reactive punishment after the fact.
That's the difference between just having a compliance program and truly being a compliant, ethical organization.
And that difference impacts everything: reputation, morale, market value.
It's profound. And the truly ethical compliance culture, like this clause envisions, actually shifts compliance from being seen as a cost or a burden
to a competitive advantage.
Absolutely. Companies with strong compliance cultures build deeper trust. They attract better talent. People want to work somewhere ethical. Their reputation gets enhanced. It can open doors, reinforce sustainability in ways just avoiding fines never could.
Which raises a big question, though.
How do you measure it?
Yeah. How do you actually measure the effectiveness of a compliance culture? It's not just about counting rule breaches.
No, it's much more nuanced. You have to look at behaviors, shared values, the overall ethical climate. It's qualitative, not just quantitative, looking beyond a paper trail.
Okay, so leadership is on board, the tone is set, the culture is being nurtured. What's next?
Planning. Meticulous planning.
Right.
Yeah.
This is where you get proactive about risks and opportunities, set clear goals. This brings us to Clause 6, planning.
Strategizing for compliance.
First part, 6.1 actions to address risks and opportunities. The standard says organizations must systematically identify compliance risks, the bad stuff that could happen, and also compliance opportunities, the good stuff that ethical conduct can enable.
Looking at both sides of the coin.
And then, crucially, implement controls to manage both. The documented proof, a compliance risk assessment and treatment plan, and a risk and opportunity register.
Moving from reactive to proactive.
Exactly. It's about understanding where non-compliance is most likely at Apex Solutions. Is it complex new AI rules, weak internal processes, lack of awareness?
Finding the hotspots.
But just as important, it's about spotting where being ethical and compliant can create real value.
Like we talked about with competitive advantage.
Yeah. Take data privacy risks, obviously critical to manage, but maybe Apex's super transparent, secure, ethical approach to data becomes a major selling point, builds incredible trust.
Turning a potential liability into an asset.
This clause pushes you to think that way. Mitigate threats, yes, but also leverage integrity for gain.
It forces you to use compliance as a dynamic lens, not just a static shield. Instead of just, what laws could we break? It's, what risks are inherent here, and what advantages can we gain by being excellent in this area?
So Apex might develop a privacy by design approach that differentiates them.
Exactly. Foresight, turning risks into potential market leadership.
Spot on. Then, 6.2 compliance objectives and planning to achieve them. You need to set measurable compliance objectives.
Making goals concrete.
These get captured in compliance objectives and targets and a detailed compliance action plan. Objectives give you direction, let you track progress. They turn the why of compliance, our commitment, into the what we need to achieve and how we'll get there.
Tangible targets.
Are we aiming for, say, a 20% reduction in critical compliance incidents this year? 100% completion of mandatory training by Q3 for all Apex staff? These provide clear goals, drive action, allow accountability.
Makes progress visible.
And finally, super important in our fast-moving world, 6.3 planning of changes.
Because nothing stays the same for long.
Right. The regulatory landscape shifts constantly, internal structures change, new tech comes along. A good CMS has to be agile, adaptable.
Can't let changes create new gaps.
This clause mandates managing changes that affect the CMS systematically. There's usually a change management procedure for this. It ensures that any big shift Apex, launching a new product, a major strategy change, adopting generative AI,
big impact items,
gets reviewed for compliance implications, managed in a controlled way. This stops unexpected problems popping up and keeps compliance dynamic, not static and outdated.
Adapting proactively.
Okay, so we've got the solid foundation, we have the strategic direction from leadership, we've planned our route. Now, how do we make sure this whole system actually runs?
Needs fuel for the engine.
Exactly. Does it have the resources, the right people, the day-to-day processes to work effectively, consistently? This is where the rubber meets the road.
Putting it into practice.
And that's all covered in Clause 7 support and Clause 8 operation.
The practical nuts and bolts.
Let's dig into Clause 7 support. Equipping for success. This is all about providing the backing the CMS needs. First, 7.1 resources.
Can't do much without resources.
Pretty straightforward, but absolutely vital. You need adequate resources. Money for initiatives, people dedicated, competent staff, and technology may be compliance software, analytics tools, secure platforms.
The essential ingredients.
Our source list mentions a resource allocation plan here. This is where the practical commitment shows. Without enough budget, enough staff who aren't totally overloaded, or the right tech.
Even the best plans fall flat.
Exactly. The best intentions just won't translate into effective compliance. It's where strategy meets investment. Apex needs to put real, measurable resources into its CMS, treat it like a core business function.
Absolutely. Resources are the lifeblood. I've seen companies with amazing policies on paper.
But no follow-through.
Right. No budget for training, not enough people to actually implement or monitor. The policies just become shelfware, aspirations. This is about walking the talk, making concrete investments.
Okay, so you've got the resources. Then comes 7.2, competence.
Having the right skills.
It's not enough just to assign people. You need the right people with the right skills and knowledge. This clause says personnel involved in compliance tasks must be competent and trained, and you need to maintain that competence.
Needs ongoing attention.
Yeah, supported by a competency matrix and training plan. This means figuring out what skills are needed for different roles, legal, sales handling data, whoever, identifying gaps, and then running targeted ongoing training.
Keeping skills sharp and relevant.
It implies continuous development, making sure people keep up with changing rules, new risks, new tech.
So competence is crucial. What's next?
7.3 Awareness. Beyond specific skills, everyone needs a general awareness of compliance obligations and the CMS itself.
Not just the experts, but everybody.
Right. Evidenced by things like training records from awareness sessions. This is broader than role-specific training. Does every single employee at Apex, no matter their job title, understand their part in overall compliance?
Do they know where to find the policies?
Crucially, do they feel empowered and safe to speak up if they see something? Or even just ask a question about ethics or a tricky rule? Awareness creates a vigilant workforce. Active participation, not just passive following.
Turns everyone into eyes and ears for compliance.
Then there's 7.4 Communication. Compliance can't be done in secret, in a silo.
Needs to be open and connected.
Organizations need effective internal and external communication processes for the CMS. Our sources mention a communication strategy, internal and external.
Planning how you talk about it.
Clear, consistent, timely communication. Internally, keeping everyone from the board to the front lines informed about policies, updates, issues. Externally, making sure regulators, customers, partners get the necessary info accurately.
Building transparency.
Might involve updates on data security for customers or clear reporting to regulators. It fosters trust both inside and out.
Keeps everyone in the loop.
And finally, under support, 7.5 Documented information. Huge emphasis here on meticulously maintaining and controlling all the relevant documents and records for the CMS.
The paper trail or the digital trail.
This is fundamental for accountability and evidence, supported by a documented information control procedure and a compliance documentation register. If it's not documented,
It basically didn't happen from an auditor's perspective.
pretty much. A policy isn't formalized, training isn't logged, a decision isn't recorded. It's hard or impossible to prove you did the right thing consistently. This clause makes sure policies, procedures, records, logs, reports are managed effectively, accessible, and can demonstrate compliance when needed.
Crucial for audits, investigations,
Yeah.
proving effectiveness.
Exactly. Bedrock of accountability.
And this clause, with its focus on documented info, really highlights that key point. Compliance isn't just about doing the right thing.
It's about proving you're doing it.
Precisely. Consistently, systematically, demonstrably. The documentation is the evidence trail that validates your CMS. It's the auditability. It separates good intentions from provable action.
But there's a risk there too, right?
Definitely. It raises that important question. How does Apex balance this critical need for thorough documentation with the risk of just creating paperwork for paperwork's sake?
Ending up with bureaucratic bloat instead of effective compliance.
Exactly. Finding that sweet spot, making sure documentation serves the system, not the other way around, that's key to avoiding compliance theater and getting real value.
That is an excellent point, avoiding compliance theater. Okay, so we've built the support structure. Now we actually run the thing. Day-to-day operations, integrating compliance into the business fabric. This is Clause 8 operation, executing the plan.
Where theory hits practice.
First up, 8.1 operational planning and control. This is where you diligently implement the processes, procedures, controls needed to hit your compliance objectives day in, day out.
Making it happen.
It's about translating those high-level policies and plans from Clause 6 into actual work processes across every part of Apex Solutions, making compliance an inherent part of daily work, not some separate task tacked on.
Embedding it.
So if data privacy is the goal, operational planning means embedding privacy by design into software development from the start, not just checking at the end.
Built in, not bolted on.
Then, 8.2, establishing controls and procedures. This explicitly requires developing and implementing specific operational controls, policies, detailed procedures for compliance, documented as operational controls and procedures for compliance.
The granular stuff.
These are the specific steps you take, maybe a multi-level approval for contracts, specific data handling protocols, procedures for age verification in a regulated sector. These are the concrete actions derived from your risk assessments and objectives designed to mitigate risks and ensure ethical conduct.
The how-to guide for staying compliant.
And finally, a massive area, especially today, often ignored until there's a disaster. 8.3 outsourcing and procurement.
Third-party risk is huge.
Absolutely. This clause says you must ensure your third parties, suppliers, partners, service providers also comply with relevant compliance obligations. Our sources list third-party compliance evaluation procedures and procurement and outsourcing compliance procedures.
Vetting and monitoring partners.
Plus, monitoring procedures for compliance controls and record of corrective actions for operational nonconformities are relevant here too.
Yeah.
Think about it. Your compliance chain stretches way beyond your own walls.
Your risk extends to your partner's actions.
A huge amount of risk often lies with these external entities. This clause demands thorough due diligence upfront checking partners, not just on cost or capability, but on their integrity, their compliance maturity.
And not just once, right? Ongoing monitoring.
Crucial, because risks change. You need ongoing monitoring, like ensuring Apex's cloud provider meets security requirements everywhere they operate, or checking a manufacturing partner follows ethical labor and environmental standards.
Your reputation is on the line.
And your legal liability, too. It's about managing the risk you don't directly control, but are ultimately responsible for. Okay, we've meticulously built the system, we're running it daily, but how do we know it's actually working?
The is it effective question.
Right. And just as important, how do we make it even better, more resilient, more proactive? This brings us to the really vital phases: performance evaluation and continuous improvement.
Closing the loop, making the system dynamic.
Covered in Clause 9, performance evaluation, and Clause 10, improvement. This is where CMS stops being static and starts learning.
The feedback mechanism.
Let's hit Clause 9, performance evaluation. Are we doing what we said we'd do? First, 9.1, monitoring, measurement, analysis, and evaluation.
You can't manage what you don't measure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is about rigorously assessing the ongoing performance of your CMS and how effective your compliance efforts are. Documentation includes compliance performance monitoring reports and compliance KPIs and dashboards.
Turning compliance into something measurable.
It moves it from just an aspiration, a hope, to a measurable reality. What metrics show success? How are we tracking against those objectives from Clause 6? Are compliance incidents or near misses actually going down at Apex? Are training completions hitting targets?
Data-driven compliance.
This data lets you make informed decisions. See where you're succeeding and where you need to adjust strategy. Using data to drive excellence, not just react.
Makes sense. What's next in evaluation?
9.2, internal audit. This requires regular systematic internal audits. They check if the CMS meets ISO 37301 requirements and if it's actually working effectively in practice.
An independent checkup from the inside.
Supported by an internal audit procedure and an internal audit schedule and reports, think of it as a critical self-assessment, usually done by people independent of the area being audited.
It provides an objective view.
Exactly. It helps find weaknesses, inefficiencies, emerging risks before external auditors or regulators do, allows for that preemptive correction, a crucial feedback loop.
Catching things early.
Then, following those audits and monitoring, comes 9.3, management review. Top management must periodically review the CMS performance.
Bringing leadership back into the loop. Strategically.
Absolutely crucial for accountability, alignment, ongoing improvement, documented via management review meeting agenda and minutes. This ensures the C-suite, maybe even the board, sees the insights from monitoring, the findings from audits.
So they can make strategic decisions.
Right. Adjust resources, reevaluate objectives, renew their commitment. It's where the strategic direction for compliance gets validated, refined, maybe even reset based on real performance data and what's happening in the organization.
Ties it all back to the top.
Exactly.
And this whole evaluation cycle, the monitoring, the auditing, the leadership review, that's what really makes a compliance program dynamic, makes it a learning system.
Not just static.
Right. It's not just about passing an annual audit. It's about constantly refining, adapting, evolving. It's ongoing organizational intelligence gathering, keeping the system relevant.
Which leads to that question you raised earlier.
Yes. How do you make sure these management reviews aren't just bureaucratic hoops, ticking a box?
But a real strategic discussion.
Right.
About risk and opportunity, driving real change, not just rubber stamping reports.
That's the challenge, making it genuinely valuable, not just performative.
A challenge worth tackling because, look, no system's perfect, right? And
No.
the compliance world just keeps changing relentlessly.
Things will go wrong sometimes. New challenges will emerge.
So what happens then? When there's a mistake or new insights pop up, that's where continuous improvement kicks in. Clause 10, improvement,
Learning and adapting.
starting with 10.1, Nonconformity and corrective action. When something goes wrong, a nonconformity in the system or in practice, you have to address it and correct it systematically.
Fix the problem.
Yes, but it's more than just fixing. Documented in a nonconformity and corrective action log and root cause analysis reports, this is about learning from mistakes. Not just the immediate fix, but digging deep. Why did this happen?
Getting to the root cause.
Exactly, so you can make systemic changes to stop it happening again. It's the difference between a Band-Aid and curing the underlying issue. Fosters deep learning from errors, makes Apex more resilient over time.
Prevents recurrence.
And finally, the big picture philosophy tying it all together. 10.2, continual improvement.
The journey never ends.
That's it, exactly. An explicit commitment to continuously enhance the CMS's effectiveness, efficiency, managed with a compliance improvement plan and a continuous improvement tracker. Compliance isn't a destination you arrive at.
It's an ongoing process.
It requires proactive, deliberate efforts, optimize processes, anticipate future regulatory shifts, elevate the overall level of integrity, always striving to be better, more efficient, more effective, not just maintaining the status quo, but actively adapting and aiming for the ethical high ground.
Proactive evolution.
Okay, that was an intense journey through the 10 core clauses of ISO 37301. We've mapped out the requirements for building that robust CMS.
Covered a lot of ground.
But here's where it gets even more hands-on, more immediately useful. The standard doesn't just give you rules in theory.
It offers help, too.
Exactly. It offers invaluable, actionable guidance and even practical templates to actually help you get started. That's where Annex A guidance on the use of this document and the bonus templates really come into their own.
Making it practical.
Let's look at Annex A. This is like the super helpful companion guide to the main clauses. It provides rich explanatory notes, real-world examples, recommended best practices for implementing every single clause we just discussed.
Translating theory into practice.
It really does. For instance, our source material highlights Annex A includes examples of compliant behavior and decision-making. How useful is that for Apex solutions?
Very. Helps show employees what good looks like in real situations, not just abstract rules.
Exactly. And it also suggests using a compliance maturity model or self-assessment tool. That's a game changer.
Helps you figure out where you are now.
Right. Lets you gauge your current compliance maturity. Are we reactive, proactive, optimized? And then pinpoint specific areas for growth and improvement. Plots a clear path forward.
Strategic self-awareness.
Then it explicitly underlines the huge importance of a whistleblower policy or speak-up process.
Absolutely critical for culture and early detection.
Vital for fostering transparency, providing safe, effective, confidential ways for employees to raise concerns about potential wrongdoing without fear of retaliation. Catches issues early.
Builds trust internally.
The annex also pragmatically mentions a disciplinary action policy for noncompliance. Defining clear, consistent consequences ensures accountability.
The stick.
But it's not all stick. Significantly, it also recommends an incentive policy for ethical behavior, the carrot.
Positive reinforcement. Often overlooked.
Totally underutilized sometimes. Encouraging and rewarding ethical conduct, transparency, integrity, making it clear that doing the right thing is visibly celebrated and valued.
Shaping behavior positively.
So this annex really moves beyond theory. Gives tangible ways to operationalize the standard, showing that emphasis on both positive reinforcement and clear consequences. A balanced approach.
Those practical tools in Annex A, they really are a game changer for actually implementing this stuff.
They make it less daunting.
Definitely. They turn abstract principles into actionable steps. Shows that ISO 37301 is designed to be used to live and breathe in an organization, not just sit on a shelf. Reduces that initial friction, gives a clear starting point.
And speaking of practical tools, the source material lists several invaluable bonus templates you might need.
Ready-made structures.
Not just ideas, but actual document templates to kickstart implementation. Things like a compliance risk assessment template helps you systematically identify and prioritize risks.
Standardizes the process.
A compliance audit checklist guides your internal reviews, helps ensure thoroughness. Training attendance sheets, a communication log, helps manage those crucial support processes.
Tracking the basics.
Even a change request form and an incident reporting form for efficiently managing operational changes and properly documenting and learning from incidents.
Streamlining key workflows.
These templates are huge accelerators, especially for maybe smaller organizations like Apex or those with limited compliance resources.
Gives them a running start.
Provides immediate structure, consistency, a professional foundation. Makes the whole task of building a CMS feel much more manageable. They really embody the practical utility of the standard, accessible and actionable.
Indeed. These standardized tools definitely streamline things, ensure consistency, which is vital, but it does raise that important nuance again.
The balance.
Yeah. How do organizations leverage these great standardized tools as a strong starting point, but still make sure their CMS is uniquely tailored? Tailored to their specific risks, their unique culture, their distinct operations?
Avoid just copying and pasting without thinking.
Exactly. It's about using these tools as a solid foundation, then customizing meticulously, making it truly fit your organization, capturing the nuances, not just adopting a generic solution that might miss critical aspects of your reality. Efficiency versus customization, finding that right balance. Hashtag outro.
Wow. What an incredible journey through ISO 37301. We really took a comprehensive deep dive there.
Covered all 10 clauses.
Navigated all 10, yeah. Understood that critical role of leadership, the need for planning, the support systems, operations evaluation, and that constant drive for improvement.
The whole cycle.
And we highlighted the invaluable practical guidance, the tools in Annex A, those bonus templates, stuff that turns theory into action.
Making it tangible.
So if we connect this all back to the bigger picture, what's the takeaway?
It becomes crystal clear, doesn't it? ISO 37301 isn't just about avoiding trouble. It's not just ticking boxes to dodge fines or liability.
It's more strategic than that.
Way more.
Yeah.
It's a proactive strategic asset. It represents a holistic, integrated system that weaves compliance right into the organization's fabric, fostering real integrity, building deep resilience in this complex world.
Helps manage that complexity.
Empowers organizations to manage it, to build lasting trust with everyone, attract and keep the best people, and truly embed ethical practices into every decision, every action, ultimately leading to sustainable growth.
That's absolutely right. Understanding this framework, it's a huge step towards being genuinely well-informed about organizational integrity. Doesn't matter what your role is or your industry.
Gives you a solid mental model.
You now have that comprehensive mental model for what effective, proactive, value-driven compliance really looks like today.
A blueprint for integrity.
So as you listen and reflect on this deep dive into ISO 37301, here's a final provocative thought for you to chew on.
Okay, let's hear it.
How can a truly robust and integrated compliance management system, like the one outlined by the standard, become an undeniable catalyst? A catalyst for innovation and sustainable growth within an organization, rather than just being seen as a cost center or another bureaucratic hurdle?
Shifting the perception from burden to benefit.
Exactly. How can compliance fuel innovation and growth? Think about that profound question and how it might reshape your perspective on organizational integrity. Until our next deep dive.